So, these two stories from this week, Revelation and Evil Allures, are very interesting, and the reason why I personally find them important to modern culture is because they are very, very involved with theological concepts. The first one being Revelation, which has to do with pride and sort of boasting yourself up. And I believe that those are very strong reasons why people do not enjoy being in the church or do not automatically first think of the church as a good thing. I mean, this last week in chapel, Tuesday, we had a man speak who listed the top three things that come to people's mind whenever they consider the church. And they were not good. And he said that the list goes on and it doesn't get any better. And so this theological concept that the church is a bad thing due to certain behaviors is something in people's minds. And so this is very apparent in Revelation, in that Mrs. Turpin just completely makes a fool of herself by boasting herself up, by not watching what she says, by being socially unacceptable, at least in a modern sense, and especially in most likely a biblical sense. Just she's very much so boasting about herself, very reminiscent of the priest in the parable of the priest and the tax collector that Jesus tells. And honestly, the beautiful thing about this is that by the end, Mrs. Turpin has a revelation, like she looks up in the night sky and sees the procession, and she looks at the people who are going first, and the people who are going first in the heaven are the people who she looks down on and the people who she boasts over. And that's just something that's beautiful, and that she finally realizes by the end that it's not the people who boast the most about themselves or look the best on the outside, it's the people who truly are the least. And so with the other short story, Evil Allures but God Endures, what's important about that is that it has a very strong biblical concept that God does not lash out at us for upsetting him, that despite what we do that may upset him, despite what we do on purpose to test him, he does not lash out at us, and he does not purposefully or even vindictively harm us. And he even gives Aleb his holiday cloak as he gives him his freedom. I mean, is just very merciful. The master, who I personally believe is God, is just a very strong concept that is very important in today's society, that despite what we do, despite the temptations that the devil lays on us, that God does not take revenge, but rather lets us do what we want, not necessarily in a way that we can do whatever we want and still be saved, but rather we can do whatever we want because God can't force us to love him or force us to do what he wants us to do or be with him. And that's a very integral theological concept that is important in modern society. And I personally believe that these two stories are very beautiful in that.